So I spent 4 months living in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. I spent 1 month in Cancun and about 2.5 months in Playa del Carmen. So these are my top 10 most important things that I learned living in Mexico, specifically in the Yucatan Peninsula. Number 10, you will be hot and sticky all the time. You are not really going to be able to wear your hair down. Maybe when the weather gets a little bit cooler. When I was leaving at the end of October, it was getting a little bit cooler in the evenings, but resign yourself to feeling hot and sticky and dirty all of the time. Number 9, Airbnbs were pretty good in my experience. I did speak to one person who had had bad experiences with Airbnb, but in the US, she was also a little bit negative, so I took that with a pinch of salt. But in my experience, Airbnbs were pretty good. This was the first Airbnb that I had behind me with the black gates, and the big windows were my unit. The first 2 units are kept for Airbnb clients, and then the second 2 are for locals. The guy who rented it was very friendly, but as you can see, this is a very, very local area. So I went from here to here. This is where my second Airbnb was. That is one of my windows. And this is the courtyard. Much better than where I was staying before. You do pay more, definitely. So if you want to stay there for a longer period of time, Facebook Marketplace seems to be the place that most expats will go and look for accommodation. A lot of the locals will use a Facebook Marketplace. You can speak to some people sometimes who you know, and what's going along will help you. But in my experience, Airbnbs were pretty good. You've got somebody to talk to if there's an issue. But I also didn't have hot water for most of my time in Playa del Carmen. So there are things that don't work as well as you would like them to work. And sometimes you will just get a person saying to you that they will work on it, and they don't. Most of the time, the Airbnbs that are listed include everything, but just watch for those ads where they say that power is extra. Some of the owners will actually give you an inflated power bill just to make a little bit extra on their Airbnb. I did call one person out and then I didn't hear from him again. So just keep an eye out for extra power costs. The last thing that I learned about location or where to stay is you may want to just spend some time there at night if you have an opportunity to be in the city and change your Airbnb or go to a new place while you are in the city. Just spend some time there at night just to see if it's too loud, if you don't like a lot of noise, or how it feels at nighttime. I got a little bit of bad advice with my first one, and it was very far out of where everything was. And then I was able to search for another one while I was there, and I found a much better option. Number 8, resign yourself to being a walking ATM. Wherever you go, if you look like a gringo, you are going to be asked for money. More and more money every time you step foot outside of your home. When you go to a restaurant, you will be charged more. When you go into a store, they will try and charge you more. If you are there for a long time, you will learn the tricks of the trade. You will learn what things cost, and you will haggle your way down. But resign yourself to being a walking ATM. Number 7, expect power and water outages. You're going to have them. Whether a hurricane comes through and knocks your power out anywhere from 12 hours to 3 days, I have heard, expect them even if there is no hurricane. During my short, brief stint there, I had both power and water outages. Thank goodness the power outage didn't last for too long. One of them was just 13 hours after Hurricane Grace. And the water outage was terrible. That lasted 36 hours. The problem in Mexico is flushing the toilets. If you do not have power, because most water operates on a water pump, you cannot flush your toilet. In the other countries I've lived in, you can just fill the tank, flush the toilet, but it doesn't work that way in Mexico. Always have some extra bottles of water in case the water does go out, just so that you can wash your hands, wash dishes, for anything like that. If you are buying bottled water, just keep a couple of the bottles, fill them with tap water for those incidences. They will be a saving grace. And remember that when anything goes out, everything is done in Mexican time. So even if your landlord tells you that it will be done soon or today or this afternoon, expect it to take longer. I believed them when they told me they were going to fix it by a certain time, but it didn't happen. Number 6, don't take a taxi from the airport. Most people will fly into Cancun airport, but if you try and take a taxi when you arrive and wing it, chances are you might find yourself in a bit of trouble. I've heard a lot of stories from people who were ripped off. They took money from them, then they demanded more when they got to their destination. It is so much better and so much easier just to book a taxi in advance. Either get onto the Facebook groups and find somebody who can pick you up and take you where you need to go, or just book it through your booking agent. I made my first booking on booking.com, and at the same time, I arranged for airport transportation. Simple, you've paid it up front, you get where you're going. Many people will also take the ADO bus. I never took an ADO bus while I was there, but they also have rates that are clear and simple. You pay the rates when you get on, and when you get off, everything is done. Number 5, when you speak to other expats, you are going to get completely conflicting information. You have 2 main groups in Mexico. I would suggest you try and sit somewhere in the middle. You've got the fear-mongering groups on the one side who live in gated communities and tell you all the bad things that happen and get you very nervous. Unfortunately, that was a group that I joined at the beginning, and it took me a month to 6 weeks to become comfortable with actually taking taxis or going out. On the other side, you've got the group that have lived there for a few months or a couple of years, and they will tell you that everything is fine, not to worry about anything. You can't listen to them either. The fact of the matter is that Mexico is a dangerous country. You know that, and anybody going there knows that. Sit somewhere in the middle. Don't expect everything bad to happen, but be cautious, be vigilant, be alert, and listen to the advice of not wearing jewelry and not flashing anything around, hiding your phone when you walk. Just cautious things to keep yourself safe. Number 4, get a Mexican SIM card if you are going to be there for a long time. Don't use your data or roaming from the US or Canada or wherever you are coming from. It will cost you a fortune. A Mexican SIM card is very, very cheap and affordable. You go to a Telcel office. I think the SIM card is free, if I can remember correctly. Maybe it's 10 pesos. They put it in your phone. They register it. It's not registered in your name. And then you just buy data as you go. I think I was spending between 250 and 350 pesos for about 3.5 to 4 gigs a month when I was there. It's a 30-day plan that I asked for, and I never ever reached the extent of my limit. A lot of times you're inside in Wi-Fi areas, but it's really good to have when you're out and about. If you have a number back home that you're going to go back to, keep your WhatsApp connected to that number. It'll be so much easier. When you go back home, you'll still have access to all your messages without having to change your number. So I would suggest you keep your WhatsApp connected, and WhatsApp is very important in Mexico. It's how most people communicate. Number 3, immigration are doing crackdowns. Apparently, sometimes they do them every few months. Sometimes in some areas, it's every few years. But immigration is cracking down, and it's been cracking down quite hard during the pandemic, because a lot of people from North America have come down to Mexico to get away from rules and restrictions and to get out and about after all of the lockdowns and the closures. Immigration are cracking down, and there are rules in Mexico very specific to immigration. So the rules according to the government are that you have to have your physical passport or a passport card if you are lucky enough to come from a country that has one, and your physical, original immigration card when you arrived in Mexico. Now, you will get a lot of conflicting information about these. There are many people in the groups that will say, do not carry your passport, your original passport. If you do, the police will take it from you and you will never get it back. Some people are saying, these are the rules, you need to carry them. I have a friend who carries her passport card around with her, which is always the better option. I started carrying around my immigration card in a Ziploc bag so that it didn't get wet, just in case. And I had a copy of my passport. I took that chance for most of the time that I was there, and I was very lucky I didn't get stopped. But if you're going to do a lot of traveling, get onto an ADO bus, change cities, chances are at some point in time you could get stopped. Some people will tell you that they have copies of their passport and their immigration card. Some people will tell you that they have physical copies or copies on your phone. You can do this, but just bear in mind that the rules of Mexico are that you need to have the originals, and the police are well within their rights to arrest you or to take you into some form of a detention center until you can produce your original copies. If you're alone, this could be a problem for you. Number 2, the police are corrupt in Mexico. It's just the way that it is. I know in a lot of countries that I've lived in, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the US. I mean, I know that there is a lot about the police in the US, but generally, if I get into trouble, I feel that I can go to the police to help me out of it. In Mexico, the police are corrupt, and the locals will tell you the same thing. I had a local tell me that they trust the military far more than they trust the local police. They will try and fine you for something that you've been doing, threaten to arrest you so that you will pay them off. I heard a few stories of those while I was there. They are generally looking for people that are drunk so that they can arrest them, get a payoff, and release you later. But they are corrupt, so please be vigilant when it comes to the police. Don't be scared of them like I was a little bit. Don't run from them, but keep an eye on them. I will tell you now, if I saw a police car going down a street, I turned into another one very quickly while I was there. Always try and stay in well-lit areas. Try and be around other people. There are tourist police stations, but I never had to use one, so I don't really know how effective they are. But if you're worried about syndicates or cartels before coming to Mexico, they'll leave you alone as long as you're not interested in drugs. Keep an eye on the police, though, and stay safe. And the number one thing, the most important thing that I learned by staying in Mexico was to do with money. It's always good to use your card as opposed to carrying a lot of cash on you. But Mexico is a cash society, so you will need to draw money while you are there. Don't draw money from any standalone ATM that doesn't belong to anything. Some people will tell you it's okay to draw money inside 7-Elevens or convenience stores. I didn't feel comfortable with that, so I only drew money from actual banking ATMs that are located at the bank. My advice to you is find a reputable bank and draw from the ATM that's attached to the building. But here's the key. Here's the most important thing that I learned while I was in Mexico. Always decline the conversion fee. Most people think that if they say no, it's going to cancel their transaction. It's not. They will always try and give you a conversion fee that is significantly higher than the conversion fee that your bank will give you back home. And I tested this theory. When they give you the conversion fee option on the screen, they tell you the final dollar figure that you will be drawing. Take a note of that figure. Decline the conversion fee, log into your bank account, and see what your bank actually charged you. You will find that based on the amount of money that you're drawing, it can be anywhere from $20 to $40 cheaper by just declining the conversion fee. Remember, why pay money for something that you're going to get no value out of? Decline the conversion fee. My number one tip. I really hope that you have enjoyed this video, and I hope that you've got some good information out of it. And I hope that when you go to Mexico, that these little tips that I've given you will help you out. Enjoy the travel, enjoy your time, and stay safe.